Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here at the Villa on this gorgeous day. I'm so excited to see so many of y'all and excited about the project that we're about to start. Um, I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you that the things that in my 17 years here at the Villa, we could have never accomplished without the support of Henrico Chesterfield, I know is here today too, and of course the state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, but we want to be a partner and help in every way we can. And thank you for entrusting us to these projects and to all that we do. Um, I'm, as I said, retiring at the end of June, and I want to introduce, I think all of you know, but to introduce you to Jenny Fryer, who will be taking over as CEO at the Villa. That's why I can retire with a smile on my face and happy because we have someone who's been here 15 years, who loves the Villa as much as I do, wants to preserve the Villa like I do, and to take care of it because it is such a gift to the community and to always serve. And we've never had an issue come up. I'm not going to take much time, but where I can't call John Batokas or Mr. Thornton has helped us on so many projects. So many of you have worked with all of our services. And to be able to have this group to say thank you, I just wanted to be sure and do that. And as my last official act, not on Earth, but at the Villa. So I'd like to introduce Jenny Fryer.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Kathleen. And thank you again, everyone, so much for joining us here today to celebrate the groundbreaking of the first crisis receiving center in Central Virginia. The Villa is deeply honored to be both our nation's oldest nonprofit serving children, and perhaps more importantly, to be at the vanguard of innovative programs like this one. True, responsive, needle-moving community work is always born of partnership, and this effort is no different. Kathleen named our partners, but today is just one more step, albeit with a bigger audience, in a multi-year collaboration between the Villa, Henrico County, the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, our Commonwealth, and as of today, Daniel and Company, who will be bringing this project to life over the coming months. But I especially want to thank and acknowledge the families of this community who place their trust in us and allow us to be a partner in their children's journey of well-being and a bright future. Every day we see you doing the hardest work of all. I also want to acknowledge our elected officials who are here. Senator Bagby, thank you for coming. Delegate Willett, Senator Van Valkenburg's office, and all of the rest of you, thank you so much for being here on this exciting day. I now have the pleasure of introducing Secretary Littell, our Secretary of Health and Human Resources for the Commonwealth of Virginia, who is doing so much to advance awareness and critical resources for mental health across our community. Thank you.
Good morning. A great day. Thank you, Jenny. I guess your probation period is over. 15 years. 15 years, that's pretty good. This is a great morning, and I think, it really is a testament to Kathleen's leadership here, as well as just the dedication and expertise of the staff, as well as the partners that were mentioned and the donors and everyone who has made this possible. I'd like to just, quickly talk about why we're here and the issue that really has affected so many Virginians, and that's the mental health crisis that we see across our nation, but certainly here, and how it especially affects young people. This is clearly a public health emergency, and it really does require all of us to be engaged. We're incredibly grateful that we have, this is an issue that is very bipartisan. We have enormous support in the legislature, have been leaders in this. The governor has made it a priority, and the stakeholders, the advocacy groups. I think this is really a great opportunity for us to do something. But the reality is, it's unfortunate. Our children face an unprecedented amount of stress and anxiety every day, probably more than ever. We certainly have witnessed this throughout the pandemic and see it every day in ways in the news and elsewhere. In the United States, 16% of youth reported suffering at least one major depressive episode in the past year. That translates to almost 2.7 million children who are suffering with major depression. Of the youth that have major depression, only 60% of them receive no mental health treatment. Think about that. 60% of kids receive no care when they need it most, no intervention, no help. This is a tragedy that we really must address, and the governor and I are really committed to addressing this head on. In Virginia alone, self-harm emergency department visits have more than doubled from 2016 to 2021. In Mental Health of America's annual report in 2023, Virginia was ranked 48th in access to youth mental health services. We fell from 21 before the pandemic to 48th. Childhood depression is more likely to persist into adulthood if gone untreated, but only half of the children with pediatric major depression are diagnosed before adulthood. Access to care, we know, is not always available, and many people may not even know the health programs in their own communities. I've been doing this for years, and even I am not fully aware of what's available all across the Commonwealth. The mental health crises we know are not planned, and emergency services are crucial for helping Virginia's most vulnerable citizens. This is where crisis receiving centers and crisis stabilization units come in. These resources are designed to provide immediate help and support to children facing a crisis. The importance of these centers cannot be overstated. They're so vital that the governor made them a centerpiece of his Right Help Right Now initiative for mental health. We've developed a comprehensive goal to bolster mental health services, specifically crisis services across the Commonwealth, to meet the behavioral health needs of our citizens. We want to protect and support these crisis centers because they are a lifeline for children by preventing suicides, reducing hospitalizations, and improving the overall well-being of our children and families. Governor Youngkin and I are so grateful to St. Joseph's for making this a priority and providing quality services that help Virginia families across the region. For centuries, St. Josephsville has provided needed services to children, and I am especially grateful for your willingness to evolve to meet the specific needs of children today. This CRC will have a compounding impact on Richmond, Chesterfield, and Henrico communities, as well as beyond, ensuring that children and their mental health are really focused on in a way that can be really meaningful. I have a great partner in this with Commissioner Smith and all the staff of the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, and it's my pleasure to introduce him. He actually was picked before me by the governor, so I am grateful that he is here. He comes to us in a second career. His first career was in the military as a member of the U.S. Army Special Forces Unit. And my staff, he always likes to say, or his staff like to say, that he has strength, resiliency, and the ability to work in high-stress environments, which I think is how he works with me. But he has a really important job. He had an important job before we really focused on mental health reform, but really thinking about the services that we provide across the Commonwealth and really looking for ways to do it differently. I think he has one of the most important jobs here, and he's been a great partner. So please welcome Commissioner Nelson Smith.
Morning. Thanks for having me here today, the team. As the secretary said, you know, the stress levels are high, but I think more importantly, the stakes are high. But we'll talk about some of that here in a second. First, I'd like to thank you all for having us out here. The old guard being part of this, watching this pass from strong leadership. I got to hear briefly about all the wonderful things that you do here. And I can tell you that it takes a team of people that are passionate. And the long history here is an example of leadership, of your caring compassion for the people you serve, but also your staff. So thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for what you're about to do. It's really, really cool. And thank you for the distinguished guests for joining us. It is clear that you all care the investments from your community. We always talk about how it takes a community. We can't solve this in a vacuum or in a singular kind of vessel. It takes everyone. So thank you for all that you're doing and paying attention to these things. St. Joseph's Villa works for DBHDS, the CSBs, private hospitals, and other partners to provide data, solve the problems, but more importantly, take care of our youth that have nowhere to go. Most people have, it's a very difficult system to enter, behavioral health care, right? So, but a great example of this is this partnership we talked about is between St. Joseph's Villa and RBHA, also with Region 4 CSBs, and more importantly, the crisis continuum. So for last year, there were about 174 youth and families that were served here. That diverted about 93% from hospitalization. The so what to that is we want to keep our children and our youth in the community so their families can have access to them. That's a critical piece to their well-being. So right now we're currently working on, if you're familiar with the governor's plan, the secretary is spearheading this whole thing, Right Help Right Now. A linchpin to this whole thing is 988. Part of 988 provides Virginians with someone to talk to, that's the number you dial, someone to respond, our mobile crisis teams, and somewhere to go. These three things are brought to life by 988. It's like 911, but for mental health emergencies. And our mobile crisis units will be deployed through 988 operators who will race to the side of people that are in crisis. That's anywhere that they are in their communities, in their homes, or just in the street. So right now, we currently have been averaging about 5,700 calls. It varies, could be upwards of 6,500. But thousands of calls in March alone. The answer rate in the state of Virginia is about 97%. We actually lead the nation. The goal is to have 80% of those calls we can't resolve on the line are resolved in the field. Again, with people who can meet you where you are. And then finally, that's somewhere to go. This is what we have behind us. Keeping people in their community, keeping Virginians in their homes. So we currently have about 65 residential centers statewide. If the budget passes, we'll be able to provide funds for 21 more sites and 15 site enhancements to extend hours and other improvements. This center we're about to break ground on will be integral to this plan of Right Help Right Now, to 988, and the continuum of services, I would say, for this community, also for the state. And the partnerships that are formed and bonded here too are incredibly important. So thank you all again. Henrico County, all the people that have been behind the scenes. Special thanks to our crisis team for putting a lot of this together. I've heard some really great compliments from the St. Joseph's Villa folks. So thank you for that. And I now have the honor of introducing Mr. Frank J. Thornton, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, and Fairfield District Supervisor of Henrico County. Frank Thornton Frank Thornton was first elected to the Henrico Board of Supervisors in 1995 to represent the Fairfield Magisterial District. He is currently on the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization, Capital Region Collaborative Organization of Council, and the Maymont Foundation Board of Directors, as well as other local, state, and national boards and commissions. Mr. Thornton.
We could not have asked for a more beautiful morning. I'm sure all of you agree with that. Thank you, Commissioner Smith, and good morning to everyone. On behalf of the Henrico County Board of Supervisors, it is my honor to join you today for this groundbreaking and to herald the promise that the Crisis Receiving Center holds for young people in our community. Ms. Barrett and Ms. Fryer, thank you genuinely for your warm welcome. Secretary Littell and Commissioner Smith, thank you also for being here. I also want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to the Fairfield District. It is always a pleasure to be on the lovely campus here at St. Joseph Villa. This place has been a beacon of hope for thousands of young people and families in Henrico and across the region for many, many years. I sometimes talk about how Henrico is a county with a heart. And we need to look no further than this place as the perfect example. St. Joseph Villa has long been guided by its caring, compassionate heart. Ms. Barrett and Ms. Fryer, I want to offer special words of thanks to you and your staff. You give hope, you change lives, and you make our community a better place. Thank you for all that you do. Henrico believes in the power of partnerships to build a stronger community. This project is more evidence of what can happen when the nonprofit and government sectors join forces. Utilizing the expertise of St. Joseph Villa, the Crisis Receiving Center will provide essential mental health services for so many young people and support for their families in Henrico and the broader region. The funding of this effort and is grateful. Let me say it this way: we are pleased in Henrico County, the county with the heart, to facilitate the funding for this effort, and is grateful that the Commonwealth recognizes its potential to address a vital need for this community. I would also like to recognize Laura Toddy and Daniel Reesby from Henrico Area Mental Health and Developmental Services for all of their efforts in advancing this project. I think we all will look forward to returning here in 2024 to cut a ribbon where the Crisis Receiving Center is ready to open its doors. To get us started on this process, I would like to turn the program over to Ms. Linda Saltonstall. She has more than 35 years of experience in the clinical field and is responsible for all aspects of clinical service at St. Joseph Villa. Ms. Saltonstall, the podium is yours.
It truly is a pleasure to have everyone here and appreciate your coming. And I do want to make one comment, and that is how genuinely appreciative I am for the consistent support and partnership with Region 4, initiated with Amy Erb with RBHA and the Crisis Stabilization Unit, and its expansion with Henrico Department, almost said Henrico Mental Health. Henrico Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, and it is for the Region 4 area as well. Those partnerships and how they've been so instrumental in our being able to expand our reach and work more intensely with folks, and not just the kids, but the families that are experiencing crisis. So thank you again for coming, and let's break ground. Thank you.
Everybody put a hand on it.